Hi, beautiful souls. I've got the incredible Claire Gorman today. She specializes in working with high achieving women who struggle with perfectionism, self-sabotage, and to be honest, anything you could struggle with, Claire is your woman. I am so lucky to have had her on the Medical Intuitive program, and I'm so lucky to have her here today. I'm going to let her introduce herself, maybe talk a little bit about her programs, and then we're going to launch into it. Hi, Claire, welcome.
Thanks, Sky. It's an absolute privilege and an honor to be here. And I just want to say thank you for an incredible 6 months. None of us wanted it to end. We just wanted more and more and more. We just wanted to be with you.
It really gets like that. I think I had like 10 messages of I don't want it to end, and it's the I feel exactly the same. It's great to have the WhatsApp group, but it's just such a strong energy that when it stops, you're like, what happened?
Yeah, I mean, we all got to a point where we knew it was coming to an end and we just didn't want it to end. But I must say, we still got the WhatsApp and you're still going in and you're still giving us encouragement, love, advice. And, there's my hat off to you. There's not many coaches, teachers, mentors that will do that. So, I'm going to say on part of the team is thank you, fantastic. Good on you.
Yeah, yeah. It's the ministry aspect of it, isn't it? It's just I genuinely, like, healer to healer, I genuinely think that programs do have to end. I think the what's the word? The closure process is so important for everybody, for me, for you guys to like up level to that next stage. But it's the community element it's way more than business. It's lifeblood, isn't it?
It's family. You've made us all family. That's what you've done.
It's not lip service, it's for real. And I need it as much as you guys do because I'm so weird. It's nice having a place where we're like understood and we have the same language and people know what you're talking about.
And it was just so wonderful, throughout that time of us all being together. We could ask you literally anything and you knew the answers. You could help us, you could guide us all the way. So, thank you.
So tell me about your experience, because you're already a very powerful healer and coach before you came on here. What made you decide to kind of take the leap? And what did you enjoy the most?
Oh, it was a lot of things to get to that point. Thank you for saying that about me. I'm deeply honored that you said that, so thank you. It's been a short journey for me. I only stepped into the Theta healing world of becoming a practitioner actually only 3 years ago. Wow. And I was reflecting on it today because you actually taught me advanced Theta healing, and it was literally 3 years ago around this time. And I was thinking today driving, because I knew that this would probably come up. And it was on the lines of, if I could have sat there 3 years ago thinking I'd be here 3 years with you, studied medical intuitive, because that's pulling up the big girl pants for me, I would have said you were joking. And I think if I said to you, you have your own modality and you would just be
I would have been like, no, Theta forever. No. Yep.
So yeah, it's been an amazing journey. But what led me to get to medical intuitive, it was a lot of dedication and a lot of hard work. I'm not going to lie about that. But I had this ultimate passion and this calling of, you have to do this. You've got these gifts, and we're just going to keep activating those gifts and activating those gifts and activating those gifts. And I just showed up 110%. I stepped away from a very successful business 3 years ago. I was in the hair and beauty industry for a long, long time. And for me to have the guts to step away from that and actually break a lot of my clients' hearts and say, this is what I'm doing. But I knew with the healing, the transformations that I could do more than, you know, making someone feel beautiful on the outside. It was my passion to make someone feel confident and worthy and beautiful on the inside. And that's where healing came into it from me. I was actually healing clients as I was doing their hair. I just didn't realize it. And that actually led me to a lot of illness. And then that's led me to going on a more of a holistic path. You know, my hands were in chemicals from the age of, you know, at least 10, because my mum was a hairdresser. I was 2 weeks old in the pushchair in a 1970s salon. So you can imagine the cigarettes, the smoke, the perm lotion and the chemicals. you know, I know Sky's face will be just like, oh my God.
Oh,
So,
when you know.
I'm very blessed that
You
I
can't
wasn't
unknow.
very unhealthy. And also, you know, when I became pregnant with my son, my son actually had a birth defect, unfortunately. And I always had a gut instinct of, was this because I was mixing bleaches and chemicals? Was I doing this? Wasn't doing that? And I had a lot of blame and guilt around me around that. So it really started to push me into more of a holistic path, doing my own healing. And then basically 3 years ago when COVID hit, I loved Theta healing. I was a client of Theta, and it changed my life. And I thought, oh, right, I'm going to do the courses because I want to learn more about it and work on myself.
There you go. You were saying that you were really into Theta and then you went. So welcome back.
So yes, I was into Theta, doing all the Theta, but I knew there was more gifts to unlock within me. And it got to Christmas point, and I'd been waiting for about 6 months for my next divine timing. And I was like, come on, what is it? What is it? What is it? And it was like, just wait, just wait, just wait. And I had to do some really deep inner work on myself about giving up control of my business. And by doing that, and just like allowing my assistant to take more work, more responsibility, gave me like a breath of fresh air in my diary. And I knew, you know, I'd seen the medical intuitive coming up, and it was like, okay, well, I'm going to do it around the back end of like this year, you know, in this round that's coming up. And I was like, I'm going to do it then, and it's going to do it then. And then one day Creator just said to me, no, you're not. And I was like, okay, what do you mean, no, I'm not? And this is the type of conversation I have with Creator. And it's like, no, you're going to do it now. And I was like, what? And it was like, you're going to do it now. And I said, but I've just, you know, got my son to go and study in America. I've come back. I've moved into state. And now you want me to start this?
I'm tired.
Yep. It's like, and it's like, no, you're doing it now. And I said, okay, why? And it said, because you've made space. Okay, I've made space. And it's like, your promised people can't wait. And I just went, okay, you need to do this. You need to find the courage. You need to be brave, and you can do this. And I was told, and I'm pretty good at when I get the message that this is what you're doing, and I do pretty much as I'm told. Oh, deep breath. So I didn't even have a clarity call with you or anything. I think one day you put a message out and I went, you're going to do this later in the year. And you were like, get on a call with me. And I think 2 days later, I just signed up. I was just like, I'm not, if this is what I'm meant to do.
The doing as you're told thing is so for real. It's pretty insane. But it's exactly what I think what you said when you said the message that you promised people can't wait. Disease is progressive, you know, and where it might be a simple intervention, you know, this year, it might not be, you know, in a couple of years, or it makes a huge difference.
And what I'd noticed a lot last year was I was working so much on my business. I was, working on myself, working on my money, working on my abundance, really trying to quantum leap my business so that it would basically get back to where my old business was. Okay. And what I noticed was when I went into creator and I said, what do I need to work on? And he said, work on your health. And I went, what? And he said, you need to work on your health sector. So I said, okay. So I worked very deeply at the back end of last year, at the beginning of last year, on my health sector for about 4 months. And I really raised my energy vibration. And then I said, okay, right, are we working on like money, abundance, business? And he went, no, you're going to work on your home. And I went, okay, all right. So I started working on my home. Then that got me to the mid-year. And I said, okay, so, let's start manifesting some more clients and let's take us to the next level. And then it's like, you're going to sell your home. I was like, okay. So we decided to sell the home. That brought in the money and abundance. And then this has given me the time now to really start to get into the health and whatever. And literally coming like midway through the program, I think, that my business went another level, and literally finishing now is gone another level again. But what I realized was to have the amount of clients or the capacity to hold space for those clients and have that energy to help them change and shift and transform, I need to be on my health goal at 80% at all times.
It's a huge part of it. And it's such a big belief that we have to sacrifice something for success. And when health becomes a thing we sacrifice, I'd say it's so common to the extent that the biggest entrepreneurs on the planet did it. If you look at Steve Jobs going with cancer and, even Anthony Robbins getting a brain tumor, a lot of entrepreneurs do it. But it's exactly what you were guided, that A, you are worthy of both. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other. But B, that everything increases as your energy increases, and your energy is your health. It is your prana.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And every time I sign a new client and they start to work with me over, because I tend to work with people over a longer period of time, the first thing, they say, oh yeah, I want to work on my business. And the first thing I say, no, we're going to look at your health first. And they're like, okay. And then when they see that shift and then they realize that everything starts to flow in from that, they're like, okay. So every time we know we're going to do an up level with them, we revisit that health section, right? What needs to be up leveled? What do we need to look at? Etc., etc., etc. And that was the other thing that I was really interested with doing Medical Intuitive, was because I know health has such a strong importance to all of this in your vibrancy and your energy, that I needed to really up level my skills so that I could help whoever came knocking at my door as such. But Medical Intuitive is more than just Medical Intuitive. I mean, how it unlocks so much stuff,
Well, you actually unlocked so much in me, because you went deeper into the witch archetype than I think most of the other students did, and the work that you did was incredible. And there were many things that came out of that I've done, because I've done this course once, but that have never been there before, because you and your little group were working through some really deep stuff around we're allowed to be powerful, we're allowed to so tell me a little bit more about that.
I just never forget that the practice night that we had, and I'm describing this stuff to you and you're like, and I'm like, no, he was ever so lovely and this, and you're like, Claire. And it's so funny. It was really interesting because when I went back to Theta, when I first started, when I did basic, because I was doing it through the night and I'm in Australia, through the day, I was just getting all these like flashbacks of like the witch wound and all the sacrifices of the witches and persecution and stuff like that. And it never frightened me. And ever since then, every single healer that comes across me, the first thing I always have to do is heal the witch wound in them. And I mean, I sort of laugh and have a giggle about it, but it's really, really serious. And I can see healers struggling because they haven't healed this in them. Because a lot of healers will say to me, well, you're very good at being visible and you don't mind showing up on camera and stuff like that. And I say, no, I don't, because I've had 35 years in front of a mirror. So I'm quite easy looking at myself. It's taken me a long time to accept myself, but I'm quite easy with looking at myself. And they said, what have you healed? And I said, I've worked a lot on healing my persecution and my witch wound and stuff like that. And what I loved about Medical Intuitive was that you really hold the container and you allow people to go where they need to go and what they need to heal. And when I first started Theta, the first thing I realized was, where the hell am I? And I just saw Harry Potter's library. And I never really watched the Harry Potter films, in all fairness. And I was like, okay, why am I in Harry Potter's library? And it was like, this is the Akashic Records. And I was like, oh, okay, so I can do the Akashic. Yes, you can. I was like, okay. And then, you know, a year later, I was given a book and it was a black book. And I was like, okay, what's this? And it was like, this is the Book of Curses. And I was like, okay, what do I do with that? You can clear curses. Okay. And I'm very much that sort of personality where it's like, this is the message. This is what you do. You get on with it. And I'm like, okay, I'll do that. I'll do that. And, you know, I do like the karma stuff, in all fairness.
With the witch wound, so much, like, even if, because I can feel people, sometimes some of them getting triggered, because you had previous incarnations as a witch doesn't mean you have to go into it and do it now. But if you believe that your magic is wrong, it really blocks the instant manifestations. It really blocks the magical experiences in your life, right?
Yeah.
It slows down, because what they thought was magic before was just people being really good at what they did as healers, but also instant manifestation. For them, if you could instantly demonstrate something beyond this world, then that was magic. And if you have a core belief that that's wrong, or if you have, you know, torture, intergenerational wounds around that, then it stops you from manifesting a lot of things, from income to partners to, and curses are still, especially when I went to Dubai, they're not as prevalent, I think, in Western culture, but they're still very, very strong. Where I, like in Brazil, Dubai, Africa, they're still not, it's getting stronger in Scotland. You can feel the witches rising and doing their thing. If witch talk has anything to do with it, it's getting a lot stronger. But it's a very, very powerful wound. It was 9 million witches. That's a Holocaust. So it really needs to be healed. And it's not a superficial thing, which is, I think, what happens to a lot of people. They're like, oh, you know, yes, everyone's died in persecution scenarios. And it's like, yes, but that doesn't, you know, bypassing it doesn't take away how much it hurt and how much it's still echoing, you know. So that's a lot of courage for you to go there.
I was reading a book on holiday, because you told me to start reading up more about it, which I took your advice. And I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised, and I hadn't even thought about it, that yes, these women were persecuted. These men were persecuted as well, for doing their practices, but also their children were persecuted as well in front of them. And that was like, oh, I hadn't even thought of that. The amount of children that have gone through, you know, a lot of trauma with that from past lives. But I've always
still go through it now. You know, if you look at witch children in Africa, and it's still a huge thing.
Yeah. So, you know, that's probably one of my sort of talents, is that I'm quite comfortable in clearing, you know, a lot of the karma, and, you know, discreating a lot of the past life stuff. So that helps women with a lot of visibility, and a lot more visibility and a lot more confidence. But yeah, I mean, you know, you gave us a great container to be able to look at different things and also take that and make it our own. I mean, some of the lessons that you taught us, I took that and I was like, okay, let me see if how I can work that with that, and how can I work that with that. And I was sending you messages, wasn't I? And you were like, oh, and people would share it in the group. And yeah, it's been life transforming. And to see the amount of healers in there that have just blossomed and bloomed with their confidence, it's just been just awe-inspiring, really, really awe-inspiring. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your programs, and specifically, because I didn't actually know about the self-sabotage, but I've seen you really working with the abundance side. And you've spoken a little bit about what you do, but tell me a little bit more about exactly what you're up to, what your programs are, so that the audience can really get a feel for you.
It's interesting because, you know, when you start to do this type of work, and even in my old business, it was like, what's your niche? Who's your target market? And I've never been able to put myself in a box. So I sort of work, I draw the right people to me, and the right people come. And if I can help you, I'll help you. If I can't help you, then I'll find you the right person that can help you. And I tend to work with, it's a bit of an eclectic mix, but I think that's because I'm a bit of an eclectic mix. So I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. So, you know, I've worked with people in the tax and in accounting, through to business coaches, through to people working for non-for-profit, you know, a real eclectic mix, but basically entrepreneurs that want to grow and scale their business, that want to feel visible, want to be seen, want to be heard, and want to have lots of confidence. And they want the health and well-being with that lifestyle of growing their business. So I sort of work with that. And I also work with a lot of healers. A lot of healers come to me because they want more intuition unlocked in them, and they want some of the past life stuff all healed as well. Or some of them have got ill health because they haven't cleared that archetype within them. So I work with basically entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. And then I have women that really are moving into that midlife, that want to feel beautiful and confident in that next life. And when I look at it, that's a bit of who I am. You know, I'm at that menopause age, moving into that stage, but I'm embracing the menopause. This is, you know, I have that belief of my life just gets better and better, and, you know, I get better with age, and, you know, unplug myself from the issues of menopause, and, you know, work a lot around with their health, their well-being, their self-love, their self-acceptance, and their confidence. And, you know, although I was a hairdresser, I wasn't just a hairdresser, I was a personal stylist, an image consultant, and things like that. So, you know, a little bit of that comes off for those women, because we start to design who they ideally want to be, who their identity is, moving into this next phase of their life. So yeah, a real mix. But I like that. I like the fact that you know, I could be doing working on someone's thyroid, you know, at 10 o'clock, and then at 12 o'clock I could be working on their business and doing future readings on their business. So I like that, you know, very eclectic. I like an eclectic day. Yeah, but that's just me.
No, I think a lot of people do. The most powerful healers that I see, they do work that way. I do think, I'm not going to lie, I think we get bored if we're put in a small container, and, you know, we need expansion. It's not like a want. Growth is like a requirement for us, you know?
Yeah.
But I do think for some people, you know, especially in the beginning, they can find it overwhelming. But I think the more that you're, like you said, it's not your first business. It's, you know, you're used to holding containers, even if it's not, it wasn't for healers, it was for a different type of healing, you know. And there is a beauty wound of monumental proportions. I did a masterclass last year on it, and I didn't expect the numbers that came, because it's so huge in women. you know, this really nasty belief that we're ugly that's put in there when we're kids, that then leads to all kinds of, like I said, horrific chemicals and treatments and dependencies. And it's very much played upon every day. You can't turn on the TV or even Netflix without getting the message, right? That there's something you have to do.
Well, I worked for a large global beauty company, and we had to learn and understand the marketings of it all and things like that, and teaching, you know, other hairdressers how to market, and, you know, and the saying, you know, and yeah, it was very, very interesting. Working
You
behind
can't
the scenes.
unknow once you know. That's the hard part, because when I studied hypnosis, and my mum and my sister both did psychology degrees, but most people, believe it or not, that do psychology degrees go into marketing because they want to use, I think it's such the dark side, right? But a lot of those companies want to use people's insecurities to be able to hook them in.
Yeah.
Right. And when you understand it, you can't ununderstand it. When you see it, you can't unsee it. What really got me, Claire, I'm not going to lie to you, is when you do kids marketing and you see what they're doing with things like kids cereal and you're like, oh, it's like, no, my political buttons switch on, and I'm like, no. But yeah, there's it's definitely very strong, and to the extent that you can clear the vast majority of it, and if you don't keep up with it, it can get in there very quickly, because it's around 300-400 times a day. If you're a normal person, you're listening to the radio and watching, that's a lot of messages.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I remember when we had to do I think it was in Rhythm for a Perfect Way. I did that with you and Vanya, and you do the free floating memories, the subliminal messages out of the brain. Oh my God, all that stuff from 20 years ago. I just had so much, and it was like, oh, clear it out.
Oh, when you're a teenager and you forget, and then because I got 3 adult stepchildren now, they're all adult now. It's insane to say. But when the 2 girls were like going through puberty, and it really brings back for you, you know, the things that it's, especially now, it's pretty insane compared to, because it's already bad when we went through it. Never mind with social and everything else.
And that's why I started to do image consultancy, learning about body shape and how to dress for your body shape, because I really struggled through my whole life with body dysmorphia and not accepting my body and really negative self-talk. You know, I was in the beauty industry, so, you know, and I remember once I went for an interview with the airlines, and I didn't get the job because they used to weigh you back then. You had to be a certain weight and a certain height, and I didn't fit that criteria. And, you know, oh gosh, the amount of times I used to starve myself and things like that back in the salon just to be a certain shape and a size. But, you know, I vowed that with my daughter, she's 17 now, when she grew up, I wanted her to have full body confidence. So that's how I studied image consultancy, so that I could empower her to feel really good about her body. And touch wood, she doesn't have any issues about it. She understands how to dress it and feel empowered over it. And it was the best thing I ever did. Yeah, it helps me in my confidence. You know, even now, you know, yes, I can show up on camera, but, you know, I've learned the tricks of the trade.
Oh, I love the way you show up in your marketing. Even the image that came up on Zoom with you've got a really lovely, which makes sense as a hairdresser, but your highlights, your undertones, you've got a beautiful attention to detail.
Thank you.
But beauty it's, you know, without
it's
getting
inside.
too,
when
it's a virtue. It's more than just you know, so it makes sense that, you know, why, like you said, when you can go down the road of it shouldn't be, but the reality is the stars shine because God made them that way, and the trees are beautiful because God made them. Asking women not to be beautiful is just a waste of time. It's what they're supposed to be. You know, but I think that, like, not teaching a woman how to use her assets is no different than not teaching them how to read and write. You know, they should be allowed, you know, to have an education, especially in image, considering how much we're judged on it on a daily basis. You know?
Yeah. 1/11 of a second. That's, people make that judgment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so fast. It's so huge. I've been explaining it to the team recently, because I think a lot of the ways that women are like, there's the kind of moms that push and that go too far and that you have to look perfect, but then there's the kind of moms that completely neglect. And that's come up a lot in I'm that kind of like tomboyish, boyish energy where I have to neglect myself. I'm not allowed to think a certain way, and having no understanding that it is affecting the way you're treated, and it's affecting the way that you're positioning, and you know, especially when you have incredible gifts, and it's such a simple thing that changes the energy you receive all day long.
Yeah. And also, you know, if you feel good on the inside, you look good on the outside, and the more you want to, you know, shine and come alive, and people read your energy. It's just, you know, they do, definitely.
Especially it's pretty mad with the psychic people, how much they read your energy, how much they know exactly what's going on. Okay, so last question from my side. What would you say to somebody who's thinking about joining, but they're, you know, they're really busy as well, and they've probably done a lot of other modalities? What comes up for you? What kind of advice would you like to give?
So that was who I was. I made space and I got myself organized. I sat down and I thought, okay, what do I need to do in order to make this work? Because I knew that I had to do it, and I knew that this was part of my like divine timing. I would just say, look at your calendar for the next 6 months and make that space. So what I did was I penciled out every single Friday. And I made sure that on a Friday, I did my homework, I did my study. And I didn't rush in too much into doing the swaps. I wanted to, this is how it worked for me, is that I made sure that I did the homework, because actually it's amazing how much the homework unlocks you, and it cements those thought processes as well. If you've done a lot of modalities, you haven't done this one.
No,
You haven't done this one. It's a completely different energy vibration, even through that hypnotic meditation that you take us through. That first time I was like, this is different, this is powerful. This is just something that you just can't keep saying how powerful and how life transforming it is. You don't need to also be super psychic to do this program. You have to follow your heart. If this is calling to you, you need to do it, because unfortunately, you don't want to live a life of regrets, but you will regret not doing it. I've never regretted doing it, and I can't wait for the next. I want more, because the amount that Sky and her team, and then each other, because Sky shows up and is 110%, the team is 110%, then we all become 110%. That we just go through it. We go through it. There's ups and downs. Yes, there's tears, but you come out of that suffering and that pain, and you are a completely different person on the other side. And you can ask every single one of us that has done this program, and we will tell you time and time again, just do it, because it's important. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Claire. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. If anybody listening is feeling guided to get in touch with Claire, all her information is directly underneath below the video. If you're feeling called to Medical Intuitive, it's the same. Drop us a DM, give us a call. Like Claire said, your people are waiting, and they're waiting for you. There's no one else. It's got your vibe. Okay. Hope you enjoyed the interview. Let us know underneath. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.